Ladies and gentlemen, every single moment, every breathtaking event, every battle, every struggle, every singular event that has ever occurred in Dragon Ball Super, specifically within the Universe Survival Arc, within the Tournament of Power battle, finally comes to a head as the be-all end-all conclusion of Dragon Ball Super is here, as the final encounter, the final showcase between Universe 7 and Universe 11, Jiren versus Goku, Frieza, and 17 is here, as we've reached the conclusion, the end of the line, the final episode in the series, as the multiverse's existence lies in the hands of our heroes. But more importantly, at the end of the day, the million-dollar question is, who was the sole survivor in winning the Tournament of Power? What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 131 review entitled The Miraculous Conclusion, Farewell Goku Until We Meet Again, the final episode, the final installment within the Dragon Ball Super series. As I'll be honest, it almost feels like yesterday of hearing the events of Dragon Ball Super ending, and after having to spend weeks speculating, after having to spend weeks discussing the show, after having to spend weeks on watching the development in the Tournament of Power occur, at long last, after nearly spending 3 years, we finally have reached the end of the destination, similar to Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT in reaching the final episode of the series. As again, if you guys are new to this channel and love Dragon Ball, for a quick plug, don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel in connection to news, information, updates, and of course spoilers for the upcoming film, hashtag Dragon Ball Squad, as we're finally here in the be-all end-all finale of Jiren having to fight Goku, Frieza, and Android 17, as we kick the episode off exactly where we left off, with Jiren having to stand over Goku's tired body, overlooking the tournament arena and watching Frieza and 17 down below, and the atmosphere felt so intense because you knew and you felt that at that given point as a viewer, time was dwindling, only seconds were remaining, and the way Jiren carried himself in this episode seemed more aggressive than anything else, because in the beginning, he couldn't believe his eyes. We couldn't believe our eyes. 17, Frieza, Goku being down for the most part, but I love how Jiren tells Frieza and 17 to stop with the useless effort, and Frieza says that he's not doing this because he trusts Goku though, he just wants the Super Dragon Balls for himself. And Jiren is looking down at Frieza, not interested in the least, and Frieza says Jiren's physical and mental strength is actually crumbling, and he's afraid of returning to the weak self that he used to be when he was little. And then that's when Jiren denies that and goes right on the attack, and the first person he attacks is Android 17. And I really love the physical toll that we get to see in this episode, because as soon as Jiren one-shot 17 out of distance, we see how he guns for Frieza, and surprisingly enough, Golden Frieza in some way, shape, or form is able to hold his own against Jiren. And as we get to see Jiren and Frieza fight on down, I don't know how Frieza's surviving early on, but we get to see how he begins to get tired out as Frieza continuously tells Jiren, "You're crumbling, you're breaking, you can't do this," more or less antagonizing him the entire time. And Frieza actually goes on to state that Jiren at some given point during this battle will crumble, and then that's when he steps on Frieza's tail. Interestingly enough, he uses that as sort of like a punching bag to just continuously pound Frieza into an oblivion, and then after noticing this in some way, Frieza's able to quickly turn the tides, and that's when 17 comes in. He kind of spears Jiren away from Frieza, and these two are working so well together, because during the course of 17 having to engage with Jiren, he puts up the barrier, and he uses an explosion-like technique to blow himself up within the barrier, and as 17 comes flying on out, we see Jiren on his knees, because at this point you have to consider Jiren has been beaten down so bad during this battle that we see him crumbling before everyone's eyes, and Belmont and the other Universe 11 warriors begin to freak out, because now they realize that Jiren is on the ropes, and Goku, while down, he notices that Jiren is actually at a state in mind where he can't physically continue. And I really love how 17 says that he'll leave things up to Frieza because he can't physically continue. So Frieza casually walks by, he puts his finger to Jiren's head, and we get to see the light emit from the death beam, because at that point you would assume that Jiren is going to get death beamed, and Jiren doesn't even look up at Frieza, because at that point, right before Frieza even fires, Toppo begins to utter out, "What are you doing, Jiren? How could you bow your knees before an enemy?" And that's when Jiren says that he doesn't have any comrades, but Toppo tells him to believe in his own strength, in saying, even if you don't believe in your strength, I do. I believe in you. So for the first time, we get to see development from his comrade standpoint, and the idea that even if Jiren doesn't believe in his friends, Toppo believes in Jiren. And we see how Jiren's fingers are beginning to twitch, and Frieza right there looks at Jiren and saying, time's up. And as soon as he does that, Jiren stands up in front of Frieza, emitting the same aura that we saw before as Jiren fought Vegeta, 17, Frieza, and Goku prior, and he quickly just whooshes Frieza away. And as he does this, he begins to whoosh Frieza away, and there's like this massive wall of energy that begins to engulf the entire arena, and that's as a result of Jiren's anger, Jiren's rage. And 17 and Frieza are trying to push this back, but they can't seem to hold it because Jiren had released so much power that everyone seems to struggle in holding it back. And Goku at that point notices, and he's trying to stand up. Goku is literally at his breaking point, and Jiren pretty much tells everybody, listen, it's over, it's done. And out of nowhere, as he begins to fire off, and we see Frieza die down from his golden form back down to essentially his base form, Goku all of a sudden shows up via the instant transmission, and at that given point, we see how Goku tells Jiren, Jiren sure is strong, but we will not be a match for him if we don't team up. And that's when Goku tells Frieza that he won't break his promise to him as long as Frieza keeps up to his end of the deal in helping Universe 7. And he says that Frieza should know more about anyone else, that Goku's the type of person to more or less keep his promises. He's not the type of person to not keep his promises, and he told Frieza, listen, I will keep my end of the deal if you keep yours. And even despite being tired, Frieza looks on over to Goku, and he gives him like this dirty look. You can tell Frieza does not want to be there with Goku, but he still acknowledges Goku. He still acknowledges Goku and saying, okay, fine, let's do this. And the three of them are trying to push this blast back, and in some weird way, despite them having to have less power than Jiren, they still manage to break on through, shattering all the glass around them, and Jiren at that point smirks. And I really did enjoy how all of a sudden, we see Jiren smirking after having the blast pretty much just blown up in his face, and then we see him charge at Frieza and Goku at the exact same time, and that's when we finally get to see, for the first time ever, Frieza and Goku fighting side by side in battling against Jiren. While 17 was more or less in the background providing support via ki blasts, Jiren was the one facing up against Goku and Frieza when it came down to physical combat. So I really enjoyed the symmetry between Goku and Frieza because it was really awesome to see how Goku punched Jiren in the gut, Frieza kicked Jiren in the face, and these two together worked so well. I really enjoyed, and despite Jiren having to be backed up against the ropes, he knocks away Goku, he knocks away Frieza, he guns at 17, and I really enjoyed how Frieza used Goku's leverage to more or less charge at Jiren in unleashing one of his most devastating attacks and using his energy as a barrier to crash down into Jiren. And I loved how Frieza grabbed himself around Jiren, and he more or less tried his best to send Jiren crashing on down into the void, and essentially that's what Frieza's original MO was to grab Jiren in sacrificing him per se, and I really enjoyed that by the end as Frieza grabs Jiren in trying to push him off. Beerus and everyone's like, holy crap, this is it, and Frieza and Goku together, they grab Jiren, they hold on to him so tight that the only other option for them to go about this is to knock Jiren off together. And by the very end, for the first time ever, we see how Frieza and Goku work collectively as a singular unit, enemies from the beginning having to be comrades now in pushing Jiren far enough in attempting to knock him out of the void. And by the end, we see Frieza and we see Jiren and we see Goku on the bleachers, and the last remaining person in the ring is Android 17. And I really enjoyed how by the end of this, once Frieza sits down, Frieza tells Goku, listen, You're gonna keep your fucking promise no matter what. And it was a surreal moment because at the end of the day, the real MVP was of course Android 17, because the Grand Priest announces that Universe 11 has been defeated, and at that given point, Jiren, he looks up and he witnesses how Universe 11 is looking down on him because Toppo is actually caring to him. And Toppo tells Jiren, thank you. And Jiren's not so sure as to why. And then all of a sudden, Goku looks on over and Goku says that he wants to fight Jiren again as they vanish. So by the end of it, we get to see how Goku begins to express sympathy towards Jiren, and right before their final words, Universe 11 is erased. And it was a really touching moment because even the Grand Priest, you know, overlooks everything in declaring Universe 7 and being the victors, and the last person in the ring is 17, and the 17 looks up at the Grand Priest as the Grand Priest asks 17, what will your wish be? As of course, all of a sudden we see how the Super Dragon Balls appear as the Grand Priest summons the dragon, and 17 looks up, and I do think that 17 deserves it, honestly. 17 had done so much in the Tournament of Power that I think 17 deserves to have his wish be granted. But as we get to see the dragon, what I've noticed, the first thing I noticed about the dragon is the dragon wasn't as big as we all assumingly remembered it from you know, the Champa story, and the idea that the dragon looked a little tiny. I mean, I don't know if that was just me, because the dragon compared to the pole, the pillar that he was wrapped around, seemed a tad bit small. So either way, we see how 17 is concerned about protecting nature, and all of a sudden we see 17's wish, and as he makes the wish, we see how Universe 6 comes back into being. And as Universe 6 is restored, it was such to a moment to where you knew that by the end of this was going to lead into the upcoming film because of the Saiyans, because of Kaba. And I really enjoyed how Champa, all of a sudden, he was looking around, he was like, wow, what's going on? And Kaba's like, wow, you kept your promise, master. You kept your promise. And Champa at that point is like, I'm not gonna thank my brother. I'm not gonna thank you. Thank you. You know, he bows his head because he knows, even though he was very arrogant, even though he was very, you know, cocky in his ability to even just thank Beerus for coming back, all of a sudden, it wasn't just Universe 6, it was Universe 10, because we see Gowasu. We get to see Universe number 3 there. Everybody is essentially back. And that was essentially what happened. We see how 17 made the wish to bring everybody back. And I really did enjoy this because every single universe is basically back to where they are. And we even get to see the Pride Troopers look up. They see the dragon, and I love how in this massive city, Jiren begins to talk to Toppo, and more or less even thinking back to the final moments of his defeat, Toppo says that all of the risks he took, Jiren was really fighting for the sake of, you know, not just himself, but, you know, for his own universe. And I love how finally, towards the end of this episode, we more or less get to see development from Jiren. So the wish was all the universes are restored. It wasn't just Universe 6, it was essentially everybody. So all the universes are back, and essentially even thinking back to his rematch, Goku looks up, Jiren looks up, and Jiren vows that again he is going to fight Goku. But as we cut on out, and as we get to see the dragon fade away, what I really did enjoy was how by the end of it, we see how Universe 7 is beginning to come on down onto the tournament stage. Android 18 jumps on down, she hugs her brother because her brother is essentially the one that carried the team. And by the end of it, I really did enjoy how 17 was okay with focusing on his cruise in exchange for saving the other universes. So that was essentially his plan. He wanted more or less, you know, the cruise after they go back to Earth. But then Frieza talks to Goku, and Whis thinks that he'll make Frieza quote unquote happy in using the staff to bring him back to life. So it's actually very interesting how Whis even said, you know what, I'll be the one to bring you back to life. And all of a sudden, Whis uses his staff to resurrect Frieza, which is amazing to me because how many people would have known that Whis has this ability? So it is confirmed, Whis has the ability to bring people back. And as soon as Whis brings back Frieza from the dead, we see how everyone else, including Vegeta, is like, what? You actually did it? And I really did enjoy how Beerus looked away from Frieza, as Frieza says that he doesn't plan on stopping being evil, but, you know, Goku says that they'll stop him for sure if he attempts to try anything more. And I love how Frieza, you know, just connivingly looks at Goku and saying, yeah. So Frieza is set free. Frieza is allowed to go back into the living world in doing his business. So everything is basically restored, and the only difference is all the universes go back to being the way they were, and Frieza is brought back to life, which is very intriguing. However, the Omni Kings ask Goku as to what they're going to do next, and we see how the Grand Priest approaches Beerus and the Kais, and we see how all of a sudden the Grand Priest freaks out Beerus and the Kais by asking Goku what they'll do, and we see how the Grand Priest says that Universe 7 did such a great job, and the Omni Kings actually tell Goku, will we see you again? And Goku's like, of course, and Beerus grabs onto Goku. He's like, shut up, don't do that. And by the end of it, Goku sticks out his fist. We see how both of the Omni Kings, both Zenos, fist bump Goku, and everything pretty much fades away as everyone goes back to Earth. As the narrator goes on to state, and so the Tournament of Power ended and everyone returned to their daily lives. And at that point, Frieza standing with everybody side by side, all is restored, and it looks like 17 will get his cruise after all as we fade away into the end. And what I really enjoyed about the end cutscene was seeing Goten and Trunks protecting the island, seeing 17 return back to the island, seeing Piccolo and Gohan going back to Pan. We see how Muten, Roshi, Tien, everyone goes back to normal. We see Goku return back home. He's battle damaged. He's holding onto his shirt. And then finally, at long last, we see the birthday party of Bra, and I really enjoy how everyone's having feasts, everyone is eating, and we're developing here as a family in seeing everybody grow. And then that's when everyone notices that, you know, she's actually flying around, and she headbutts Vegeta in the face. I really did enjoy that, how by the end, we see a montage, and the really epic montage was, by the end of it, we get to see how Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta fights Super Saiyan Blue Goku, just kind of like a big hoorah in terms of like showcasing and going back to the traditional Dragon Ball Z ways. However, it's not over, because at the very end, we see how Frieza rebuilds his army. Frieza has a massive army somewhere out in space as Goku and Vegeta are fighting, and I really enjoy how Vegeta says to Goku, what's Ultra Instinct? And Goku's like, I don't know, it just happens naturally, as I was backed into a corner at the tournament. As Vegeta proceeds to tell Goku, you're always a step ahead of me, and I really enjoyed how by the end of this, we get to see Goku and Vegeta in their traditional fighting poses, and that kind of signifies the end, because that's exactly how the episode ended, with Goku and Vegeta in their classic stances having to go toe-to-toe against each other. And I think that by the end of it, it signified that these two have, I mean, lots of unfinished business, and right before Dragon Ball Super ended, it ended on the note of having Goku fight Vegeta, and to me as a fan, it's a personal look back on how far we've come in the series, in seeing the way everything transpired with Bra's birthday, you know, 17 getting his wish, Goku fighting Vegeta, we see Frieza rebuilding his army. Everything seems to go back to the way it used to before, and ending it off knowing that the final fight was indeed going to be Goku and Vegeta. But in the end, I would like to know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. What did you guys think about the final episode of Dragon Ball Super? How do you guys feel about the outcome of the Tournament of Power? And what are your overall thoughts on seeing this long-awaited battle between Universe 7 and Universe 11 finally come to an end? What are your overall expectations for the upcoming Dragon Ball Super movie, and as a collective whole, having to follow the inception of Dragon Ball Super from July 5th, 2015 until March 24th, 2018? What are your thoughts on the Dragon Ball Super franchise, guys? Thank you all so very much once again for joining me throughout this entire journey in both the ups, the downs. Thank you all so very much for continuously supporting the channel, and thank you all so very much for watching every single one of my Dragon Ball Super episode reviews, as by no means is this going to be a permanent goodbye, but more or less a temporary farewell as we make our way towards December 14th, 2018, ever so closer towards the upcoming Dragon Ball Super movie. Thank you all so very much for watching the final episode review for Dragon Ball Super. If you guys enjoyed, if you guys are emotional, and of course if you guys are happy that our beloved series has now come to an end, then let me know your thoughts down below if you guys enjoyed. If you guys are going to miss Dragon Ball, go on ahead and slap a like on the video. And of course, if you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel. Thank you all so very much for everything throughout these years. It's been an amazing ride, but I guarantee you it's not over. Until next time, farewell. Thank you all once again, and I'll be seeing you all in the next Dragon Ball video. Take it easy, guys. Cue my outro, bitch.